Welcome back to the deep dive. We sift through fascinating sources to give you the core knowledge, basically the shortcut to being genuinely informed.
That's the plan.
And today, we're really diving deep into, well, a powerhouse chapter of the Qur'an, Surah Fussilat, chapter 41. And the name itself is key, right? Explained in detail.
Exactly. Explained in detail. That title, it really captures the essence of this surah and, what we're trying to do here today.
Right.
It's not just about basic beliefs. This chapter lays out a really meticulous, comprehensive ethical framework. We're pulling from various tafsir, classical and modern scholarship to really get at the life lessons.
And these verses came down during let's say, a pretty critical time in Mecca.
Oh, absolutely. A really tough period. We're talking roughly 615 to 619 CE. The ideological struggle was intense.
So the early Muslims were under serious pressure. It wasn't just name-calling anymore.
No. It had escalated. Organized opposition, political maneuvering, economic boycotts. It was serious.
And that context, the asbab al-nuzul, the reason for revelation, there's a specific story linked to the surah that's just wow.
We absolutely have to start there. It's pivotal. It involves Utbah ibn Rabi'a.
A big name in the Quraysh leadership, right? Known for being shrewd.
Very much so. Respected, influential. The Quraysh had tried threats, they tried pressure, and nothing worked on the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So they shifted tactics.
To what? Diplomacy? Bribery?
Kind of both. A sophisticated attempt at enticement. Utbah went to the Prophet with this package deal.
Right, I remember this. It was purely materialistic, wasn't it? Like they were trying to negotiate a divine calling.
Exactly. Utbah basically said, look, if you want wealth, we'll pool our resources, make you the richest man among us. If it's leadership you're after, fine, we'll make you our leader, even our king.
And they even threw in, medical help? As if it was some kind of illness.
Yes. Or if this is some kind of affliction, maybe something affecting your mind, we'll find the best doctors, spare no expense. They were trying every angle to frame it as something worldly, something manageable, something not divine.
Reducing revelation to politics or pathology.
Precisely. And the Prophet's response, peace be upon him, is just extraordinary.
He didn't interrupt. He just let him lay it all out.
Let him finish completely.
Wow.
Patiently heard the entire proposal, all the diagnoses, all the offers, and when Utbah finally fell silent.
No debate, no counteroffer.
Nothing like that.
Yeah.
He simply asked, Utbah, are you finished, O father of Walid? Utbah said yes. Then the Prophet of Ye said, then listen to me. And he began reciting the opening verses of this surah, Surah Fussilat.
Wow. Just the revelation itself.
Just the revelation and the impact. It wasn't gradual. It was immediate.
What happened to Utbah?
He was just captivated. He sat there, listening intently, resting his hands behind his back, leaning on them, completely silent, motionless, utterly. When the Prophet reached the verse of prostration, verse 37, he prostrated. Then he looked at Utbah and said, you have heard what you have heard, O father of Walid. The choice is now yours.
Utbah.
He went back to the Quraysh assembly. People saw him coming and said, by God, Utbah comes back with a face different from the one he left with.
They could see the change.
Instantly.
Yeah.
They asked him what happened. And his advice to them was astonishing. He said, by God, I have heard words the like of which I have never heard before. It is not poetry, nor magic, nor divination.
So he recognized it was something else entirely.
He did. He told the Quraysh, listen to my advice. Leave this man and his message alone, because the words I heard will have great significance. If the Arabs defeat him, you'll be rid of him through others. But if he prevails over the Arabs, his dominion will be your dominion, his glory your glory.
That's incredible. He saw its potential power even while rejecting it for himself.
It demonstrates the ijaz, the inherent, inimitable eloquence and power of the Qur'an. It was the most potent form of dawah, the invitation. It bypassed all of Utbah's political calculations and spoke to something deeper.
The revelation is the message. That's the big takeaway here.
It truly is. And before we dive into the verses he recited, let's quickly touch on the names again. Fussilat, explained in detail. From fazl, meaning to separate, to distinguish.
Right. It meticulously separates truth from falsehood. Theology, ethics, law. It details everything.
And the other name, Hamim as-Sajda. Hamim connects it to a specific group of surahs, and as-Sajda points directly to that mandatory prostration in verse 37.
The one the Prophet performed in front of Utbah.
Yes. It's a call to submit, not to the created things like the sun or moon mentioned in that verse, but only to the Creator. It sets up the core relationship right away.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with those opening verses that had such an effect. Section 1, the unassailable revelation and the veiled heart, verses 1 through 8.
Right. The surah opens significantly, not with a threat, but with mercy. It states the Qur'an is a tanzil ascending down, a revelation from who? Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim.
The most gracious, the most merciful. Why start there? Why those specific names?
It's a crucial framing. It tells you this guidance isn't primarily about, asserting power or imposing rules. It's presented as an act of profound, overwhelming mercy, a gift.
So rejecting it isn't just disagreeing, it's turning away from grace.
In essence, yes. It's rejecting help offered out of sheer divine generosity. Then it confirms. It's Fussilat, explained in detail. In Arabic Qur'an, its clarity is highlighted for a people who know.
People who know, that implies using your intellect, right? Being willing to understand.
Exactly. Those willing to engage their minds, not just passively receive. And its function is dual. Bashirun wa nadhira.
A bearer of good news and a warner. Good news for those who accept, warning for those who don't. Straightforward.
Very. But then, verse 5 immediately confronts the reality. Most people turn away. And it gives this incredibly insightful psychological breakdown of why. A five-fold barrier they construct.
This is fascinating. It's not just doubt, it's active.
Yeah.
Blocking. What are these 5 things?
They're powerful metaphors for determined spiritual resistance. First, the disbelievers say their hearts are in a kina.
Coverings, veils.
Yes, like layers preventing understanding. Second, they say their ears have walk deafness. Not physical, but a willful refusal to hear the message.
Okay, veiled hearts, deaf ears.
Third, they perceive a hijab, a screen or barrier, between themselves and the prophet. Fourth, they basically declare separation. You do your thing, we'll do ours. A conscious divergence.
Like agreeing to disagree, but with hostility.
Precisely. And fifth, the final action. They actively turn away. Physically, intellectually, spiritually averting themselves.
So these veils, the akanen, are they saying God put them there, or?
No, the context strongly implies these are barriers they have erected. Think of it like layers of prejudice, ingrained habits, arrogance, maybe fear of change. These build up and block the light of guidance.
And the deafness, the wakara, like selective hearing.
Exactly. Only hearing what confirms their existing biases. The hijab is the screen of denial they hide behind, refusing to really engage with the message's implications. It's a picture of willful spiritual insulation.
Wow. So it's a self-imposed state. This explains how someone can be intelligent, but completely closed off spiritually.
Perfectly. And the surah implies this persistent, chosen resistance has a consequence. It leads to what's called katama sealing.
Sealing of the heart.
Yes. But importantly, it's presented as the natural outcome of their own continuous actions. It's not arbitrary punishment from God. It's more like the spiritual hardening of the arteries that results from a lifetime of poor choices. They lock the door from the inside.
The takeaway, then, is that the biggest obstacle often isn't external evidence, but internal resistance.
That's a crucial life lesson right there. We need to constantly check for our own internal veils.
So, faced with this level of rejection, what's the guidance for the prophet Shi? How should he respond?
With humility. The instruction is direct. Say, I am only a man like you.
Breaking down that barrier of perceived difference, making it relatable.
Exactly. It removes the excuse that the messenger is somehow too angelic or different to be followed. It brings the core message down to the human level. And that core message is beautifully simple.
What is it? 2
commands. Fastaqimu ilayhi, take a straight way towards him.
Straight way. No detours, no loopholes.
That's the implication. Direct, sincere commitment. And second, wastaghfiru, seek his forgiveness.
Forgiveness for what specifically? General sins.
Primarily, the text implies, for the root problem, shirk, associating partners with God, which was the core issue with the Meccans. But it extends to all shortcomings, naturally.
Then comes a warning, a woe to the mushrikin, the polytheists. And they're defined by 2 specific things in verse 7.
Yes, this is very telling. They are those who do not pay the zakah and who are in denial of the hereafter.
Okay, the denial of the hereafter makes sense in that context. But zakah, this is a Meccan surah, right? Wasn't the formal zakah system established later in Medina?
That's a really important point, and scholars have discussed it extensively. Some early authoritative commentators like Ibn Abbas interpreted zakah here not as the formal charity payment, but in its linguistic root meaning
Tazkiyah.
Tazkiyah.
Purification.
Exactly. Spiritual purification. Cleansing the self from the impurity of shirk and embracing tawhid, the oneness of God. So the mushrik is someone who refuses this inner purification.
That makes sense contextually, but what if it does refer to charity, even in principle?
Even then, its placement is profound. It links flawed theology directly to social behavior.
How so? What's the connection?
The idea is that if your core belief is flawed, if you associate partners with God, shirk, it distorts your entire worldview. It often leads to self-centeredness, materialism, greed,
which manifests as
withholding wealth, refusing to acknowledge social responsibility, hoarding resources, essentially not giving the zakah or charity, even in its general sense of helping the needy.
So bad theology leads to bad social ethics.
And that whole system, the flawed belief, the selfish behavior, is only psychologically sustainable if you also deny ultimate accountability, if you deny the hereafter.
It's an interconnected web of denial. Flawed belief, social irresponsibility, rejection of judgment.
Precisely. True faith, conversely, integrates all three. A right relationship with God, tawhid, a responsible relationship with society, giving zakah, charity, purification, and a firm belief in the hereafter.
A holistic system.
Yes. And for those who embrace this integrated path, the reward mentioned is ajrun gairu mamnun,
Which means?
an uninterrupted, undiminishing reward, continuous, unending generosity from God. It echoes that opening theme of mercy, except the gift of guidance, and the reward is boundless.
Okay, so the foundation is laid. The revelation is merciful, clear, but rejected by those with failed hearts. Now the surah seems to shift gears, moving to logic and creation.
It does. A powerful shift to rational argument. Section 2. The logic of creation and cosmic submission. Verses 9 to 12.
How does it start?
With a direct challenge to their intellect, highlighting the absurdity of their shirk. Do you indeed disbelieve in him who created the earth in 2 days, and you set up rivals with him?
Pointing out the massive scale difference, creating a planet versus setting up idols.
Exactly. It magnifies the pettiness of polytheism against the backdrop of cosmic creation. Then it details the creation process.
This is the part about the days of creation, right? It needs careful reading alongside other verses mentioning 6 days overall.
Yes. It says the earth was formed in 2 stages, or days. Then, crucially, it mentions placing mountains, blessing the earth, and measuring its sustenance, akwadaha. All that took another period, described metaphorically as completing the process in 4 days in total for the earth.
So 2 initial days for formation and 2 more for making it habitable and provisioned, making 4 for the earth stage.
That's the common understanding, reconciling it with the 6-day total. Then, Allah turned to the heavens, which were like dukhan.
Dukhan. Smoke. Gas.
Smoke, yes, or vapor, primal matter. A really evocative image. Many commentators see a fascinating parallel here with modern cosmology's descriptions of nebulae, the clouds of gas and dust from which stars and planets form.
Interesting. And then?
Then he formed the heavens into 7, gave each its function, its law, adorned the lower heaven with stars, and this took another 2 stages, or days.
So 4 for the earth's process, 2 for the heavens. That brings us to the 6 stages mentioned elsewhere. The reconciliation is key.
It is. It shows the internal consistency. But the absolute killer point, the main life lesson here, comes next.
After detailing this immense creation.
Yes. After all this cosmic engineering, Allah issues a command to the newly formed heavens and earth. Come into being willingly or unwillingly.
A command to the universe itself. And the response.
Immediate and unified. Atain. We have come willingly.
Willingly. That's the contrast, isn't it?
Huge contrast. You start the surah with humans, small and created, arrogantly saying their hearts are veiled, their ears deaf, their wills divergent. Now you see the entire massive cosmos, galaxies, stars, the earth itself instantly submitting, willingly aligning with the Creator's command.
It makes human rebellion look unnatural, like an anomaly.
Exactly. That's the profound insight. The default state of the universe is submission. Our spiritual struggle is to align our own resistant wills with that natural cosmic harmony. Rebellion is the oddity.
That's a powerful perspective. If the logic of creation doesn't persuade, maybe history will. This leads into the next section, right? Warnings from past nations.
Precisely. Section 3, a warning from history, the fate of Ad and Thamud, verses 13 to 18.
So the message to the prophet too is now, warn them.
Yes, warn them of a sa'iqa, a devastating blast, a thunderbolt, a sudden destructive scourge, like the one that struck Ad and Thamud.
Ancient, powerful tribes known for their arrogance.
And their common sin, rejecting the core message of Tawhid, the oneness of God, brought by messengers from before them and from behind them.
Meaning the message was consistent, comprehensive, they had no excuse.
Exactly. It wasn't a new or strange idea. And their fates serve as specific case studies. First, Ad.
What was their defining sin?
Material arrogance and pride in their physical power. They built mighty buildings, boasted about their strength. Who is greater than we in strength? a direct challenge.
Challenging God based on muscles and architecture.
Pretty much. So the divine response was perfectly tailored. The rebuke was, did they not see that Allah, who created them, is greater in strength than they?
And the punishment?
A rihan sosaran, a furious, cold, shrieking wind. Some traditions even specify its direction. It blew for consecutive days of calamity.
So their strength, their buildings, useless against wind.
Utterly useless. An invisible, intangible force destroyed their tangible sources of pride. The power that created them easily overcame their derived strength.
A humbling lesson. Then, Thamud, what was their issue?
Theirs was more about willful blindness. They weren't just proud. They actively rejected clear proof. They were shown a manifest sign, the miraculous she-camel, and they deliberately killed it.
They preferred blindness, the verse says.
Yes, they preferred blindness over guidance after clarity had come. So their punishment was the sa'iqa again, that overwhelming blast, a torment that humiliated them, possibly a combination of sound and light that overwhelmed the very senses they had refused to use for guidance.
So there's a pattern here. The punishment fits the crime.
It seems so. A principle of tailored retribution. Add, proud of visible strength, destroyed by invisible wind. Thamud, rejecting clear sight, overwhelmed by a sensory blast. It's a warning for us, isn't it? How we misuse blessings could become the means of our own downfall.
That's sobering, but there's always an out for the believers.
Always. Verse 18 offers that crucial reassurance. Yet we delivered those who believed and were God-fearing taqwa. Justice targets persistent rebellion. Mercy and protection are for the pious.
This theme of perfect justice then explodes in the next section, doesn't it? The Day of Judgment scene.
Oh yes, one of the most vivid and frankly terrifying scenes in the Qur'an. Section 4, the inescapable testimony. Accountability on the Day of Judgment, verses 19 to 29.
How does it unfold?
The enemies of Allah are gathered, driven towards the fire. And then the shock. Their hearing and their eyes and their skins will testify against them as to what they used to do.
Their own body parts testifying against them.
Exactly. The very tools they use to commit actions become the witnesses for the prosecution. Imagine the horror and betrayal.
Their reaction is captured too, right? They ask their skins.
Why have you testified against us? Utter astonishment. Utter confusion.
And the skins reply,
Allah has made us speak. He who causes all things to speak. It affirms God's absolute power over all creation. Nothing can conceal the truth.
The implication for divine justice is staggering.
It means justice is perfect because the evidence is incorruptible. You can't bribe your own hand. You can't intimidate your own eyes. The record is built in.
But why did they sin like this in the first place? The surah diagnoses the root cause, doesn't it? It wasn't just ignorance.
No, verse 22 gets to the heart of it. Their fundamental mistake was a flawed assumption about God's knowledge. They thought, Allah did not know much of what you used to do.
They thought they could hide things, that God wasn't fully aware.
Yes. There's that famous anecdote related by Ibn Masud. He overheard 3 men by the Kaaba whispering about their secret sins. One was confident God knew everything. Another doubted, saying maybe God knew what was public but not private whispers. The third was even more skeptical.
So they had this limited, almost human-like view of God's awareness. They thought there were blind spots.
Exactly. They failed to internalize God's omniscience.
Yes.
They practiced a kind of compartmentalization, public piety, private indulgence, assuming the private sphere was truly hidden from divine sight.
A failure of muraqabah, that idea of constant self-watchfulness, knowing God sees all.
Precisely. And verse 23 says that flawed assumption, that wrong thinking about God, is what ultimately brought them to ruin. Their theology dictated their actions and sealed their fate.
This flawed view was then encouraged by others, the Qur'an.
Yes, the evil companions, both jinn and human. They made attractive to them what was before them and what was behind them, meaning past sins and future transgressions. They provided the justification, the peer pressure, the normalization of wrongdoing.
Misery loves company, even in leading people astray.
Tragically, yes. And the section culminates in their desperate plea from hell itself in verse 29.
What do they ask for?
Our Lord, show us those among jinn and men who led us astray, that we may crush them under our feet so that they become the lowest.
Blaming their tempters, still not taking full responsibility.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
A futile desire for revenge, still missing the point that the choice was ultimately theirs, recorded by their own faculties. The body was the instrument, the self made the choice.
So the testifying limbs don't negate free will, they confirm it, because the limbs are testifying against the chooser.
That's a very insightful way to put it, yes. The testimony wouldn't make sense if the limbs were compelled. They testify because they carried out the command of a choosing self. It underlines absolute personal accountability.
Okay, that's a heavy section. But then the surah pivots again, offering hope and immense reward for those who chose differently.
A beautiful pivot to comfort and inspiration. Section 5, the reward of steadfastness. Glad tidings for the believers, verses 30 to 32.
And this reward hinges on one key quality, right? Istiqamah.
Absolutely central. The promise is for those who have declared, "Our Lord is Allah," then remain steadfast, whom istiqamah. It's not just saying the words, it's the then remain steadfast part.
Steadfastness. Istiqamah. It sounds simple, but it feels profound. How did the early Muslims understand its depth?
Well, the Prophet Isa himself gave the most concise definition. When asked for advice that would cover everything, he said, say, "I have faith in Allah," and then remain steadfast to it. Belief plus consistent action.
And the caliphs elaborated.
They did, adding dimensions. Abu Bakr focused on the core belief, unwavering tawhid, no compromises on the oneness of God, doctrinal integrity.
Okay, and Umar?
Umar highlighted the behavioral aspect. He described istiqamah as sticking firmly to God's commands and prohibitions without being cunning or evasive, without looking for loopholes like foxes.
Like foxes. That's vivid. Avoiding the technicalities to get around the spirit of the law.
Exactly. And Ali emphasized the practical follow-through, performing the obligatory duties consistently. So it's belief, integrity, obedience, and consistency.
That like foxes part really hits home. We see that tendency everywhere, don't we? Trying to find clever ways around rules, in business, online, everywhere.
We do. It's the temptation to adhere to the letter while violating the spirit. Istiqam demands sincerity right through. No gray areas sought, just straightforward adherence. It's tough.
And for those who achieve this high standard, the reward is angels descending.
Yes, the angels will descend upon them, a promise of divine support.
When does this happen? At death.
The major commentators, like Ibn Kathir, favor the view that it's continuous support at the most critical moments. Yes, at the point of death, to bring ease and good news, also in the grave, providing comfort and companionship, and again at the resurrection, reassuring them and calming their fears.
Constant angelic support through the toughest transition. Wow.
And their message, it directly counters the two biggest human anxieties.
Whatcher?
Fear of the future and grief over the past. The angels say, "Do not fear nor grieve. Don't worry about what's coming, judgment, the unknown. And don't mourn what you left behind the world, possessions, attachments, just peace."
Complete tranquility. And they offer more.
They declare their role. We are your Awliya in this worldly life and in the hereafter.
Awliya. Protectors. Friends. Guardians.
All of the above. A close, protective, enduring relationship that spans both worlds. And then the description of paradise.
What is it?
Utter fulfillment. There you will have whatever your souls desire, and there you will have whatever you ask for. Every longing met, every request granted.
And this isn't just earned, it's presented as a gift.
Explicitly. It's called the Nusul, a gift of hospitality from Ghafur-i-Rahim, the oft-forgiving, most merciful. It emphasizes that while steadfastness is the path, the ultimate reward is pure divine grace.
That promise of divine friendship and hospitality leads naturally into how believers should interact with others, especially in calling them to this path.
Exactly. It sets the stage for the highest ethical conduct. Section 6, the apex of character and dawah, verses 33 to 36.
This starts with a question about speech.
A powerful rhetorical question. And who is better in speech than one who invites to Allah? The implication is nobody. But then it breaks down why that speech is best, giving 3 essential components of the ideal caller. The die.
Okay, what are they?
First, the content and purpose. The call to Allah. It has to be for God's sake alone, not for ego or status. Second, the credibility. Righteous action, Amila Salihan. You have to live the message you preach. Walk the talk.
Practice what you preach. Makes sense. And the third?
Clear identity and conviction. Saying openly, "Indeed, I am of the Muslims." No hiding, no apology, just clear, courageous identification with submission to God even, or especially, in a challenging environment.
Purpose, practice, and proclamation. Got it. But then comes the really challenging part, verse 34.
Ah, yes. The command to go beyond mere justice, to reach the station of ihsan, excellence. Repel evil by that deed which is better.
Repel evil with good. That sounds incredibly difficult. How did commentators explain this practically?
They gave concrete examples. Ibn Abbas suggested meeting anger with patience, ignorance with forbearance. Others said it means doing good to someone who has wronged you, like visiting them if they shun you, giving to them if they withhold from you.
So it's not just passive forgiveness, it's actively returning good for bad.
Yes, an active positive response, designed to transform the situation.
But isn't that risky? Won't people just take advantage? The verse itself says this requires great fortune.
It does. It says the station is only reached by those who have cyber-yeast patience and are blessed with du hazin adhim, truly great fortune, immense good character. It acknowledges this isn't easy or natural.
Why great fortune? Is it like a spiritual gift?
It implies it takes tremendous inner strength, self-control, and reliance on God, qualities that are themselves a great blessing. It's not for the spiritually weak, perhaps. The impulse is retaliation. Choosing Asan requires overcoming that impulse.
And the potential outcome of this difficult approach?
It's transformative. The person who was your enemy will become as though he was a devoted friend. Kindness can disarm hatred in a way that retaliation never can.
The prophet's pardon of Mecca comes to mind.
The quintessential example, turning sworn enemies into loyal followers through an act of supreme Asan.
Okay, so that's the external strategy. But maintaining that level of patience, that requires internal defense, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and the surah provides the essential tool for that internal battle immediately after. Verse 36, when you feel that naz from Satan, that subtle prompting, that whisper inciting anger, revenge, impatience.
The urge to react negatively.
Yes. The immediate singular instruction is, Fastid billah, seek refuge in Allah.
Ah, so there's a difference in approach. Human opponents you meet with active good. Satanic whispers you repel by seeking divine protection.
Exactly. That's the crucial strategic insight. You can win over a human heart with kindness and patience, demonstrating superior character. But the unseen enemy, Satan, isn't reasoned with. You defeat his influence through the spiritual act of istiada, turning to God, who is the all-hearer, the all-knower of those whispers.
It protects your inner state so you can maintain the difficult outer conduct.
Perfectly put.
Okay, we're nearing the end of the surah. It seems to return to the cosmic signs and the ultimate certainty of the message.
It does. Section 7, the final signs and the certainty of truth. Verses 37-39 and the concluding verses 52-54.
It starts with the signs in the heavens again.
Yes, verse 37 points to the night, the day, the sun, the moon. Magnificent, consistent signs. But the immediate point is, don't worship them. Worship the one who created them.
And this is the verse requiring the prostration, the sajda.
Yes, sajda at tilawa. A physical act of affirming that submission, bowing only to the creator, not the creation.
And if humans are too proud to bow,
Verse 38 reminds us, it doesn't matter to God's majesty. The angels are already in constant worship. They glorify him night and day, and never are they tired. Allah's glory is independent of our recognition.
then it shifts back to earth for another sign.
A powerful analogy for resurrection in verse 39. It points to the earth when it's kashia,
Kashia, humbled, barren, still.
withered, humbled, seemingly dead. Then rain comes, and suddenly, lo, it quivers, itarat, and swells, the rabat. Life bursts forth.
The observable miracle of revival.
And the inescapable conclusion, surely he who gives life to the dead earth will also give life to the dead. It's presented as a logical certainty based on observation.
And there's that parallel again, isn't there? The earth's humility, Kashia, allowing it to receive the life-giving rain.
Just like the heart needs kushu, humble reverence, to receive the life-giving revelation, arrogance keeps the heart barren, just like dry, compacted earth sheds water. Beautiful symmetry.
The surah then addresses attempts to distort the message, ilhad.
Yes, warning against deviation or twisting the meaning of the ayat verses, and the response is the ultimate guarantee of the Qur'an's integrity in verse 42.
Which says,
Falsehood, by Dabiri, cannot come to it from before it or behind it.
meaning it's protected from corruption.
Completely. Scholars understand this as twofold protection. Protection of the text itself from addition or deletion, and protection of its core meaning from being fundamentally altered or abrogated by later falsehoods or misinterpretations. It's eternally preserved.
This leads to the grand finale, the ultimate promise in verse 53.
The climax, yes. We will show them our signs in the horizons, alafak, and within themselves, infusihim, until it becomes clear to them that it is the truth.
Signs everywhere, outside and inside.
Exactly. Alafak refers to the external world, cosmology, nature, history. And Fujihim refers to the internal world, human biology, psychology, our innate moral compass, fitra. God promises that evidence for the Qur'an's truth will continue to manifest in all fields of knowledge and experience.
So the evidence isn't static, it's unfolding. Science, self-discovery, it will all point back to this truth.
That's the powerful assertion. The truth will become undeniable, objectively clear, through accumulating evidence from every direction. There's no escaping its eventual manifestation.
And the final verse brings it all home.
Verse 54 loops back to God's absolute knowledge and power. Unquestionably, he is, of all things, encompassing. Everything is within his grasp, every doubt, every secret action, full circle to accountability.
Wow, what a journey through one surah. If we had to boil it down, what are the, say, 3 huge takeaways from Fussilat?
Okay, 3 key lessons. First, definitely the critical need for an open heart. Rejecting those internal veils, using our intellect, being receptive to the message which comes as mercy.
Got it. Openness. Second.
Istiqamah. That steadfastness we talked about. It's not just belief, but unwavering, consistent, sincere commitment in action and integrity. No loopholes.
Steadfastness.
And third, the peak of character.
Yeah.
Ihsan. Repelling evil with good when dealing with people. And underpinning that, the vital internal defense is isti'adah, seeking refuge in Allah from Satan's whispers to maintain that high standard.
Openness, steadfastness, and excellence paired with seeking refuge, a complete framework.
Pretty much sums up the core ethical thrust.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. We talked about the signs within themselves in Fusihim, and how our own limbs will testify against us as incorruptible witnesses. This ties into muraqabah, self-watchfulness. So the question to ponder is this. Knowing your body is an amana, a trust, and is actively recording your choices. How does this deep understanding change how you perceive privacy, especially the privacy of your intentions and actions when you believe you're totally alone, unseen by any human eye?
Does alone even mean the same thing anymore?
A profound question to reflect on. Thank you so much for guiding us through this incredibly rich chapter.
It was a pleasure. So much depth there.
And thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Surah Fussilat, explained in detail. We'll see you next time.